welcome back to the Life and Listings podcast. We have a little bit of a different, more tactical episode for you here today. So I have our very own Jen Davis joining us today. Hey, Jen.
Hello.
Jen is our training and tech coordinator at Staat Solutions. And when we decided that we were going to talk about SOPs today, I had to have Jen on here because she is like our queen of training and SOPs. And before you just completely log off and say, ew, they're going to talk about standard operating procedures today on a podcast, I'm going to tell you that I'm going to show you how it's not as nerdy and not as awful as it sounds. I'm assuming that everybody that's listening in probably is an entrepreneur, or you probably work at a business that probably needs SOPs that maybe doesn't have them, or we need better ones. And I think a lot of times we think of SOPs as those companies that you would come into, right? You'd have the big giant folder of all the screenshots and all the things and the arrows, which you can build to in the future. But I'm going to tell you that we kind of want, here at Stats, we just tell everyone to start out small so we can actually start taking action on stuff. So we're going to jump in and just spend a couple minutes with you being really tactical today on how to get SOPs set up in your business, not only so you can delegate, because I think that's where a lot of people think of SOPs means I can hire. And I'm going to tell you that it doesn't necessarily have to be because you're ready to hire. It can be to make sure that you, for yourself, have a set of SOPs that you follow if you are bringing on agents or you are doing a transaction. Do you have steps that you follow for every single one of those processes? And I'm going to tell you that you probably don't. So, Jen, what do you think is the most important part when we're starting, any of our clients, when we're starting to kind of develop those SOPs with them? What's the most important part?
Well, I think the most important part is having a consistent process that you can repeat and do over and over again. And it's also kind of like a checklist, like, have I done this? Have I done that? So it not only helps you hand off work to somebody else and ensure that they sort of have a process to follow, but it also ensures that everybody's following the same process for the same tasks. And it's also a checklist to make sure that you've done all of the steps in those tasks and it is actually complete.
Yeah, I think that's probably the biggest learning thing that we've had with our clients is that we have these clients come on. They're already a very successful business. They're already selling 200-300 homes a year. And then we look at their Google My Business and we go, why do you sell 300 homes a year, but you only have 5 reviews on Google My Business? Well, I've always meant to send out the review request, but I never send it. That, my friends, is an SOP, right? Because you don't have the checklist in place that says what I just want to do as my, I could be a solopreneur or just an individual agent doing this. Because I didn't have the checklist of every single time the transaction closes, I want to send them out a review request. Maybe here's the template. It doesn't get done because you're too busy and you have no reviews.
Well, and you get into a rhythm. And if you're going to update that rhythm to start asking for those reviews, because that's sort of a new process in what you've been doing, having that checklist, having that SOP helps you get into that habit. So will you use that a year from now after that's become a habit? Probably not. But at the same time, then anybody else you bring on, if you bring on an assistant, they know that that's part of the process.
And that's where I really like to think of, like, let's simplify it, right? How am I doing the process currently? Here's my 10-step checklist. Now let's layer on the things that I've never been able to do before. Now here's my wish list of items that I wish I was able to send a gift afterwards, or I was able to send them pizza or whatever, if we're talking transactional. Then when you do go to start leveraging, it's easier to piece out those little things, right? Because you can see the steps, you probably have a template. And for those of you that say, oh my gosh, I don't have templates, what are you talking about? You have the templates, if we're talking emails, in your outgoing email. Take 5 minutes, look in your outgoing email for all of the different steps that you do in a transaction, or if you're onboarding agents or whatever, copy that, put it somewhere. You now have a template and now you now have a checklist. And I'm telling you, you get so overwhelmed with all this because you're like, oh my gosh, it's going to be this 50-page book and I got to make videos and I got to produce all this. No, sit there and just look at what you're already doing. You already have it. And then you can create a template. And then you can make it better and prettier or whatever in the future.
Yeah, and you refine it as you go along and as your processes change. And maybe, this month you're doing things one way and then you're going to change that up a little bit. Having an SOP means you can change it on that. You can reference back to that and say, okay, am I doing this the way I want it done now?
Mm-hmm. Or a lot of it, Jen, when we're working on SOPs, right, I'm always saying, like, this is a living, breathing document because you want to know what's going to happen. Something's going to go awry in that process. And because you have it written down, you can go make those tweaks or you can improve it. Okay, maybe my 10 steps on bringing an agent on never had me switch their license. I never confirmed that that was part of the process. Now that I know I missed it on this go round, I can easily go tweak it and the process can take me 5 seconds. And now I know going forward, I have that spot check on maybe their license being switched, whatever.
As you start to streamline these things, you'll also see where you're wasting time. Where can I get back some time? Because before I had all of these things scattered around and they weren't organized and I wasn't doing them in a systematic way,
Yeah.
things become sort of a little chaotic. So you can actually gain back more time by keeping things in a very consistent, repeatable process.
It's funny because I was just doing a consultation with a team lead and she was like, Jennifer, I'm just so frustrated. Every single time I leave a listing appointment, I'm sending the exact same email and I'm sitting there and I'm drafting the whole thing out. And I was like, stop. It's a template. Your outgoing email right now. I was like, sit down. Can you sit down at your desk? Go in your outgoing email, copy that exact email, put it in your follow-up box as a template and clear out the personal information. It doesn't have to automatically go out because she wanted some customizable information in there. But now every time you have a listing appointment, you just pull up that template and then you go, hey, Betty Sue, here's the link about your home. Here's your price, blah, blah, blah. But now you know it's exact same every single time. And you didn't draft 3/4 of that email again. So you're keeping it really consistent. And then in the future, if you want to bring on agents or an assistant or whatever, they have that starting point. And now it's completely off your plate. Let's say you have 2 listing appointments a week. I don't know how many people are doing. But if that email took you 10 minutes to draft, I'm not sure. What's 20 minutes times 52? Look at how much time you're saving just by one email template that took 5 seconds to put somewhere. I don't care where it is. Google Docs, Follow Boss templates, your Google templates, whatever. Tons of time saving right there. And I think most people don't think about that for SOPs. They're like, ugh, it's taking me hours to make. Jen, let's talk about some of the easy tools, right? Because I think that's where traditionally I know where I got stuck is I would easily make a video, but if you asked me to sit there and like do little like snippets of screens with arrows like you do, Jen, I would never put it together. So what are some easy tools that people can use to make this whole thing just simpler?
Well, videos are great because whether the person is an audio learner, a visual learner, or a hands on learner, it gives them the tools to be able to replicate whatever you're instructing them on. So it's a multi level learning tool. There's some things about video that you have to remember is don't go too fast. Don't rush through it like you're doing it for yourself.
She's pointing at me, guys. She's pointing at me.
The process of creating a training video should be, you write out a script, you write out all the steps, and that's not really all that necessary, but you should at least take the time to stop and think about the process. Think about it from start to end. You've never seen it before. You've never done it before.
Mhm.
So if you're going to instruct somebody to go to a certain drive folder and find a document, you need to give them all of the steps, not just it's here, because just here doesn't always make sense. I need to know it's in this drive, in this folder, in this subfolder, and here it is. And with written documents, I also like to include file paths, not just links, because links break.
Yeah.
It's just a fact of life, links break. So always put in this drive and then go to this folder, then go to this folder and make it clear exactly where that is. So don't rush through it. Approach it like you've never done this before. Take it slow. If you're pointing to somewhere on the screen, make sure the person viewing it actually has time to see where you're clicking
Yeah. Yeah.
and describe it. Up here in the upper right-hand corner, you will see this icon and then click it so that they have time for their eye to travel to the upper right-hand corner, see where your cursor is, and know where it is you're going.
Yeah.
So just be really clean, concise, think through the entire process, every single step that you just do by rote.
Yeah. I think dumbing it down is really, really something we have to consider. I think we've over time, but where we built so many different onboarding plans and training plans for agents, every agent is coming into that process at a different point in their life, right? So some are brand new agents, some have been in the business for 30 years. So something we've realized is like when you reference the MLS, we've had some agents be like, "What's the MLS?" We're like, "Oh, all right." I really want to take a step back.
Well, in any technical writing, any kind of presentation, you never use acronyms to start off. It's fine to use acronyms, but the very first time you reference it, you explain what that acronym means. So I would say you're going to want to go to the MLS, which stands for the Multiple Listing Service. From then on out, I can just reference the MLS, but the very first time you reference it, whether written, spoken, or in a live presentation, the first time you reference an acronym, you always spell it out for the people.
So important. And then some of the tools that we use internally or I tell our clients to use as well, Loom, the majority of people have heard of Loom at this point, but it's just a screen recording tool. It can be free. It's a minimal cost once you start using it a lot more. One of the ones that's probably less common is called Tango. Like it's also free. It has a little Google extension. It can kind of follow your cursor and it can take screenshots of what you're doing and it actually uses AI to help you draft out the steps. That one is one of my new favorites because that's something that I would have never sat there and done. Like take a screenshot, wrote it out. I'm a big one of just giving everyone 30-second looms. We also use Asana for a lot of our checklists, a lot of our SOPs. And then if you don't want all that extra tech, start with Google Docs. Like most of you all have Gmail accounts, it comes with it. So start there. And then as we kind of wrap it up, we have just released a SOP and training playbook. If you would like a copy of that, you can click on the link below. If you're watching on YouTube, I'm going to put it there. If you are listening in on any of your podcast apps, I'm going to drop it there as well. If you want to stay in the loop on any of our monthly released playbooks, head over to the Stat Solutions website, and I'll drop that down below, and sign up for our monthly newsletter. We're going to be telling everyone what is coming out. Every single month, we're going to be releasing free playbooks. We really just wanted to kind of show everyone how to set up their business for success. So, Jen, thanks so much for joining me today.
It has been a pleasure. These are so much fun.
Have a good day.
You too. Bye bye.